Rojas? Is it Rojas?
Yeah, I asked him
Yeah?
to send it to me so I wouldn't screw it up.
Rojas
I had to
Truitt.
introduce him.
He's amazing. So I plug him for the 9th of March.
Yeah, and he's
That was
coming up from Eugene. He
Yeah.
has a place
He's-
called the Poetry Loft down
He's
there.
amazing.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
really good.
Our final reader tonight is Lynn. Lynn Knapp is a poet, memoirist, teacher, and musician. Also a photographer like Tiffany. She lives in a 100-year-old house and walks every day in one of the oldest neighborhoods in the Pacific Northwest. The grit, grime, and unexpected beauty of the central city inspire her life and her writing. Her poetry has appeared in The Burden of Light, Poems on Illness and Loss, Poeming Pigeons, and the Lost River Review. Her work also appears online at the Museum of Northwest Art in La Conner, Washington. And we've got a couple more chairs, so come on in. Okay.
I learned from people who precede me. I'm from Walla Walla, and I was born in Walla Walla, but I lived on a farm. I grew up on a farm. And I didn't really expect to live in the center of the city, but we've been there for 30 years. And we've almost got, the house is in 1896, we've almost got it fixed, so after 30 years. And I think we're obligated to stay. Anyway, I've come to love the area. It's full of life, and a lot of it's unexpected, and I was thinking people who live in Portland would understand that. So. Okay, so the first poem is my introduction to the neighborhood. Welcome to the neighborhood. He blows whiskey breath and a slurred invitation over the fence. Why don't you come over and play cards? I hesitate. Don't you play cards? I picture a bent, bandy-legged, cigarette-burned card table. Slick with white ashes, sticky with booze. Sorry, I don't. We hadn't lived in the neighborhood very long and I was walking every day, and we discovered that one of the houses I walked by had been actually been built by my great-grandfather. So it's one of those things, your life kind of circles around. And the title of the poem about my great-grandparents' house is actually in Spanish, but I'll translate it first. The house of my great-grandparents, and in Spanish it is La Casa de mis bisabuelos. They would think it strange to hear me say it. An old carpenter with broken hands and a railroad pension, a cross old woman who smoked a corncob pipe and spoke a few words of childhood German. Rocking together on the same front porch I passed today. A full-blooded casa now. The house great-grandpa built wears aqua blue paint, has white plastic chairs under the carport, a Rottweiler on a chain, pink flamingos stepping lightly over the flower beds, and a backyard mechanic draped over a fender with his ear to a squawking fan belt. This poem appeared in an anthology about birds, poems about birds, that Sean published with the Poetry Box. My neighborhood is a crossroads of language and culture, nature and humanity, and this is a nature poem. Golden Eye. I sprint up the wildwood hill, snowy path stretching ahead, tic-tac-toe of animal and human. Cat, dog, Nike tread, magpie alighting, running steps of rabbit. A solitary pheasant, a young male, clatters out of the brush, flying alongside me until his fear is spent. Perhaps he is lost, separated from his family, or in search of one. A slim brown hen scuttles into the undergrowth. The rooster's not searching for a hen. He has found her and shelters her in the thick brush on the snowy slope of the freeway. As I crest the hill, not one trim brown hen, but two run at my approach. There he is again, that handsome devil, turning a golden eye toward me, lifting emerald head and crimson throat, leading flight to a brown-twigged hill across the rusty railroad track. I stop, breathe deep, hear the rattle of their wings, sense the pounding of their hearts, and count 2, 3, then 4 speckled hens raising wings to follow him. One of my favorite little neighborhood girls is Sophia. This is about her. Going on 3. Sophia understands Spanish, but watches TV in English. She toys absently with a taco and beans, sniffs a burrito, devours a Big Mac. Too short for the counter, she tugs Lorena's skirt. Mommy, the man says you need another penny. Not for her a conspicuous accent, not for her an ambiguous culture. No linguistic confusion for her. She understands Spanish, but answers in English. Sometimes things are a matter of perspective. The title of this one is Dangerous. In full 14-year bloom, I shrank from unintelligible foreign chatter of dark young men in grocery store aisles, certain they were talking about me. Now I teach young men who top onions and pick cherries far away from their families. Young men who giggle at young ladies without mama or abuela to scold them. They grip pencils in dim classrooms at night, giving form to a new life with aching fingers. Meanwhile, back at the kitchen, house mouse, drawn irresistibly to a steamy scent of kitchen, sweet underbelly of sink, moist Shangri-La ripe with cheese, potato peels, eggshells, and bacon fat. He scampers across a border from his wintry home to the tropic warmth of mine, unaware of a world where an inhospitable trap will snap his neck, leaving him curled in the lap of my frosty garden, black eyes still shining. I love to walk. I've walked in the neighborhood for years, but recently my husband has joined me, and this is a product of one of our walks. Grown-up gangsters. We take a walk in the evening, and from tidy little yards, they say hello over the fence. I've seen you before, they say. You live over by Tino's Tacos. You have a nice garden. I know them when I see them. Watchful, macho, brawny in black, slow to speak, slow to trust, taut folded biceps, bulging beneath hacked-off sleeves. We walk past, and they hoist the babies to wave goodbye. Grown-up gangsters know where we live. Sean was saying today how topical my poem is. She said I timed it just right. Well, it really wasn't timed. Things haven't changed as I hoped they would. So this poem speaks of today's issues, today's concerns. Juan picks apples. He packs apples, brings me apples, green-flecked, glossy red, big as my head, as big as I dream of apples, laughing in my sleep, splitting red skin and crisp flesh like a mall rends wood for fire. Juan always brings me apples, and we laugh in the garden, separating weeds from soil, wresting gray foliage from green life rising to a spring sun. He always brings me apples, but not today. His mother died in Michoacan, and he can never go back. He crossed the border, lapping filthy water like a dog. He sent money, but her new husband drank it down, leaving nothing for a doctor. He always brings me apples, but not today. His mother died in Michoacan, and a great red chunk split away from his heart. Okay, this last one actually was probably the first. It was the poem that told me I had a book. So, let's see. Vine Street Underpass. A white froth of spirea spills down the hillside, over a chain-link fence marking the freeway. Sparrows and squirrels chatter in ancient untrimmed trees, brittle branches twisting toward the sun, chartreuse crowned with the hope of spring. A homeless man like the birds has made his nest here, wrapped in a torn afghan on a bed of pine needles, cradled in a chain-link hammock against the hill. Overhead, a tattered plastic bag dangles from a branch. Pink apricot petals dust the asphalt pathway. Broken beer bottles sparkle amber in the sun. Giant dandelions flourish untamed, and a free-range house cat hunkers down in the grass, stalking an errant cottontail. As the sun rises, the homeless man moves on, and I alone am left to find the unlucky rabbit's foot on a narrow path where the wild and the urban meet.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you all so much for coming tonight. We have a little bit of time if you would like to hang out with the poets, and Tiffany and Lynn will sign books, and Leah will bring books soon, and so
Sorry.
no, and so you have to come back to get hers. So thank you all so much for coming, and yeah, thanks for supporting our local authors.